Hi, I'm Stuart Chapman and this is my Evidence of Learning 2 for the Outstanding Teacher Training Programme. I've been asked to discuss issues emerging relating to digital teaching and learning, and also sort of develop a manifesto, I suppose, as to how I might approach and solve these issues, or go some way to solving them anyway. I've focused mainly, although I have a longer version, I've focused mainly on a lack of digital literacy within certain groups. I'm going to focus first of all on a lack of digital literacy in teachers. The first issue that I want to talk about is a lack of confidence in using new technologies. Quite a lot of teachers are not necessarily as IT literate as they would like to be, or perhaps are reluctant to become more IT literate. Sometimes they have a fear, if you like, of using these new technologies, and that can be an issue in itself, in that although the stuff's available to them, they're not able to use it because of their lack of confidence, or perhaps even lack of training indeed as well in using those things. Something that sort of goes hand in hand alongside that as well is the lack of time that they've got to attain new skills. I know as a teacher myself that time is really tight. I have my contact hours, which are 21 hours in the week, and the rest of the time is there for sort of preparation and planning and marking. Believe me, the time just adds up, and it's very difficult to try and make that time to get that CPD, to get some valuable CPD and learn those new skills. The next thing I want to talk about is the absence, and this is really interesting actually, the absence of a shared vision between teaching and management staff of how digital technologies are expected to be used. I think a lot of institutions fall short on this. This is why you'll tend to get maybe just one or two teachers in a department, that are that use a lot of digital products for teaching, and then many that don't. A lot of the time, from a management level, the expectation of using digital technologies for teaching and learning is either not embraced, or is not particularly coherent. It could be linked to the lack of confidence of using those new technologies. An example that I can think of that in my own institution is that I know that we don't use Moodle, the virtual learning environment, very much. Although it's used very much college-wide, it's not really been used much in my department. Therefore, I don't use it myself either. The next issue I want to talk about is reluctance to change their own teaching methods. A lot of teachers could be quite happy using the same teaching methods, or perhaps they're reluctant for other reasons, in ones that I talked about, for example, lack of confidence in using technologies. They might be perfectly happy with the methods that they use. This unfortunately can sometimes lead to a disengagement by the learner with using the sort of same teaching methods as well. So I'm going to move on to the learner now. As I've just said, disengagement with the same teaching methods. It could be affected in a similar sort of way actually by overuse of the same software or saturation. I know that myself and another teacher in the department use Kahoot quite a lot, and we're always ever mindful of the fact that we could be Kahooting our students out. So another issue that the lack of digital literacy could affect learners is the lack of a lack of independence in the classroom. Quite often, learners need to have those skills and that confidence, I suppose, in their skills to be independent in the classroom. And if they don't have those IT skills, then that can be difficult when you're trying to facilitate some learning that requires a certain amount of independent thinking. So that leads me on to, some learners could be more tech savvy than others as well. And this has happened quite a bit this year, for me, actually, and I've had to sort of find solutions around it. So I've been looking a little bit at some of the pedagogies, Ken Robinson and his Do Schools Kill Creativity TED Talk, Seth Godin's Stop Stealing Dreams TED Talk, and Guy Vitale's Life Lessons Through Tinkering TED Talk as well. So things that really came out, that stood out there for me, are the ideas of sort of classroom lectures, Godin talking about classroom lectures during the day, and the virtual classroom in the evenings. So when that expertise is sort of on hand during the day, then you can teach the learners those vital skills in the day, and then they can perhaps put them into practice at night. For example, if you're setting them homework, then it could be the homework can be more meaningful if they are applying those skills. Cooperation and collaboration instead of isolation. Coaching instead of teaching the learners a prescribed right way. Learning for fun, and promoting the concept of just playing around as well. So not necessarily learning with an end goal in sight, but learning just to sort of see what happens. So with those things in mind, and also Robinson advocating both teaching creatively, for example, teachers using creative skills to make ideas and content that's more engaging for learners, and teaching for creativity as well. So providing learners with the tools that they need to innovate and to explore new avenues and to find ways of getting answers. So with that in mind, developing a manifesto, if you like, coming up with some of these solutions. So the lack of confidence of using technologies, the lack of time to attain new skills, the absence of a shared vision. The solution, well, I think it's got to be a coherent and joined up approach to training for digital learning, digital teaching and learning actually, which is curriculum wide on a national and even an international level. I think that's something that really needs a big push. It's certainly something that I can do within my own department and have been doing in Teach Meets, CPD sessions. So disengagement with the same teaching methods and disengagement with the same teaching methods. I've put a solution, so utilising new technological opportunities and or integrating with established teaching methods. So that's, I suppose, saying that you don't necessarily have to convert fully to digital learning. If you're happy with using the same teaching methods, perhaps you can combine your teaching with using some new methods, especially teaching with technology, and combining those with your more traditional teaching methods. I've put for lack of independence in the classroom, a solution for that essentially is promoting the teaching of strong ICT skills, promoting collaborative learning, which leads essentially to knowledge construction. So independent learners, having independent learners in the classroom supports 21st century learning design. The learning activity rubrics, which I've referenced on my call here. Also, to do with the with independent learning in the classroom, independence in the classroom, and connecting that with learners being more tech savvy with each other. More tech savvy than others. I've been advocating peer coaching, something I've been doing quite a bit actually in my sessions on a Thursday afternoon especially. Again, the peer coaching is really, really valuable for learners because not only does it reinforce the idea in the learner that's doing the coaching, but also it's a really meaningful experience and a very different experience to being coached by or taught and directed necessarily by me. So with that in mind, again, I'm going to look at trying to sort of embrace those pedagogies. Essentially, the idea of learning through coaching, tinkering about, playing around, not necessarily having a specific end sight and goal, working things out for yourself, essentially, and teaching more creatively, as Ken Robinson has advocated. So I think that's about my lot for the manifesto. Thank you for listening.